The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Good evening and welcome to Down the Garden Path with your hosts Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, dial 905-725-1907. Toll free in North America, 1-866-905-7325. Worldwide, 1-866-656-5477. Send us an email right now. Our email address is instudio101@gmail.com. And now, right to your hosts of Down the Garden Path, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome everyone to this wintry episode of Down the Garden Path, where we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice for your plants, gardens, and landscapes. As landscape designers and gardeners, we think it is important and possible to have great gardens that are low maintenance, and we want to help you make it happen. I am Joanne Shaw, landscape designer and owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design for the past 11 years. It is a design-only business here east of the GTA in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And with me is my co-host, Matthew Dressing. Welcome, Matthew.
Welcome, Joanne. Good evening, everyone. I am Matthew Dressing, horticulturist and landscape designer, and owner of Natural Affinity Designs. Natural Affinity is a landscape design and garden maintenance firm servicing Toronto and the eastern GTA. Joanne and I enjoy doing Down the Garden Path, each week bringing you interesting, relevant, and helpful topics to help you achieve a great garden. We learn right along with you, from each other, from our research, and from the guests that join us here on the show. As always, we welcome your questions via social media, emails, and calls.
That's right. And thank you. We want to thank you once again for joining us down the garden path here each week. You can always check out past shows of Down the Garden Path on your favorite podcast app. And while you're there, please don't forget to subscribe to be notified of new content. And please like and share. And please leave us a comment. We haven't had anybody comment or give us a review yet. So I was looking on that today.
We'd love one.
That's right, we would. Although we get tons of comments here on the radio, the live show. So thank you, everyone who always responds so kindly to us here on Reality Radio.
Yes,
the best listeners, right?
You know it.
I know. So we're sorry. We have to apologize to everybody about, we were kind of no-shows last week.
We were totally, yes. Remembrance Day totally hit the GTA with a wicked snowstorm. And we were both iced out. We could not reach the studio safely and on time. And we're sorry again for leaving you. For those who tuned in, thank you very much for tuning in to see if we were there. We really appreciate
That's right. And Gary was kind enough to run a repeat. So we did have a backup show on. Right?
We did. We did.
And we had good listeners too, Gary. You just sent me the stat that people
for sure.
tuned in. So yay. But we're so we're sorry about that show. We had a new one, kind of a cool one planned, but we're going to do that again next year.
We did, and it will be a fun one next year. It'll be a good one. I enjoyed doing it. So on the backs of our apologies, or the tails or heels or whatever,
or on the storm.
Or more on the storm. Yeah. Exactly. The title of tonight's show, we are calling it "Oh, the Weather Outside."
That's right. That's right. Because oh boy, when we got that snow, I just figured, okay, a couple of days, it's going to be gone.
Right.
And it wasn't. It didn't. It kept snowing.
It did.
And we had snow Thursday and Friday, I think. And it's been record cold temperatures as well. So the snow is still on the ground. We had some rain today where we are. I think north of us got some more snow.
Yeah.
Write in, tell us where you are and what's the crazy weather outside like for you.
I just want to let you know for our listeners, there are some spotted outages with Rogers and Bell.
Okay.
That I just got a message. So if they're listening and they get cut off here and there, it's something going on, and maybe perhaps in your neighborhood with some outages. So I don't know if the weather, snow, someone dug a cable up, who knows?
Yeah.
So I just want to pre-warn people if it's not on this end, but if it does, okay?
Thanks, Gary.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So write us in and write us at instudio101@gmail.com. instudio101@gmail.com. I said really fast.
I know. Could you say it faster?
Right. And let us know what the weather was like. And kind of going over, we were just suddenly dumped on with all this snow. But
I know.
how many of us really got what we needed to be done outside done?
Yes. I don't know. If you did, man, you were on top of things because it was unprecedented. Like, I know we don't, after Halloween, we kind of have colder temperatures. And rainier, but not. I haven't remembered. It rained last year. Sorry, it snowed November 14th last year, but it did last 2 days and it was done.
Yeah,
right.
And it was gone. But the amount that's holding on right now,
I know.
It's like there are drifts everywhere still.
Yeah.
So we're we've been getting a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. I know I have at the garden center, and even outside the garden center, people are like, "What am I doing with this?" or "What's happening?"
Yeah,
here?
I didn't get to do that, and what do I do with this? And there's leaves still on my trees, on my Japanese maples. What do I do? Yeah, same. So that we thought if we're getting those questions here, that our listeners will be having the same, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we'll we're gonna just go over, I guess, a couple of things with the weather outside. Is it too late? Is it too early? Do you have to worry about this or that? Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about some of the winterizing and last little bits, or how the weather is really affecting us by jumping out of a blind corner like this with all this snow.
That's right. And if you have something in particular that you're worried about, that you're concerned about, that you didn't get done, or that you still want to do, then please write us in. And if we can help, we would love to. So again, like Matthew said, instudio101@gmail.com. So
that's right.
What's happening at the garden center aside from questions? Let's go back to that. Aside from questions about what to do in their garden.
From my main side, it is, and mainly like, oh my gosh, I still have to do this, or I want to do that. Yeah. Can I? The other thing is it's full Christmas mode.
Right.
And it kind of goes into, we've had all this snow and people are holding off on, suddenly all their containers are frozen. Mm-hmm. And it's that time where we're putting out our wreaths and our mixed greens and things. And they're kind of like, oh, can I still do that? Or I didn't get my container empty. So they're kind of, it's kind of a mixed bag. They're kind of tying into each other. But right now it's very Christmas. Very, very Christmas.
the garden center. And I think that is one advantage of the snow. It puts everybody into that mood even more so, right? And shopping and that type of thing. But it's been good for retail and not so good for gardeners. That's
right. Right. So we're getting, that's probably my main are still questions about what can I do? And I just brought this inside, but I didn't get a chance to. So how to do things still. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest questions is not a lot of leaves got raked and picked up, right? So a lot of people were still I'm noticing that, people are asking a lot of those questions about, I didn't get all my leaves. What's going to happen? Is this going to be too late when it melts, or if it melts, or what if it doesn't melt? What's going to happen to my lawn? That type of thing. So, we managed to I convinced my husband and son to, my husband planned on going out to rake the weekend before. And I said, just mow too, like rake, in the areas, certain areas. And then I said, but the bulk of it that's on the lawn, let's just mow that and mulch it up. So they did do that, and so we only had maybe 8 bags to put out instead of more. But there were still lots of leaves on trees. Like my London plane tree still hadn't dropped. My beech, tricolored beech still hasn't dropped. A lot of my stuff has not dropped yet.
Yeah, and
now that the beech, no, but the London planes the day after, seriously November 12th, they literally all fell at the same time. Yeah, literally. It was kind of funny. They were like, okay, it's too cold, and they dropped. But so we still have lots of leaves on our lawn too.
Yeah, there's lots of leaves out there. And you're right, they're on the lawns and under that snow. Mm-hmm. And kind of on what you were just saying about being on the trees, a lot of people have also come into the garden center. They're worried that the leaves being stuck on the trees is something that's gonna, is it dead? Did it die in the ice or the cold and that sort of stuff too? So they're both worried that it's on the ground and in the trees still.
Okay. So what do you tell people with leaves that are on the ground?
Yeah, so on the lawn, if we can get them thawed, and it does come out as best we can, just kind of clean it up so it doesn't really get frozen and suffocate the lawn, because the lawn under all that cover, even when it's open lawn and we get that ice storm, that ice that just solidly covers the grass can suffocate the grass plant and really cause them to take damage. So if we can get out there, for sure, get as much up as you can. But if we can't, it's going to be one of those things where we might have a spring where we're doing some repairs here and there. And hopefully that there was enough leaf cover on the ground that there was still some air in there, and it didn't totally freeze or fill up and the grass could still breathe. But we may end up with some dead spots, some suffocated spots.
I wonder if we rake, though, this on the wet grass and the wet leaves, we would be doing damage anyway. So part of me is kind of like,
it's one
unless it really dries out and we get a couple of Indian summer days.
Yeah.
Otherwise I think maybe it's, 50-50 whether, I think you're going to damage it, whether the damage is now or the damage is in the spring. I think we're still going to have to repair it. So
exactly.
So what can you do? It's a catch-22.
If you do, you do. If you don't, you're still going to. Yeah, exactly. Do we want to go?
Sure, yeah. Let's go. James, yes. Go ahead.
Oh, James has jumped in. Hey, Joanne and Matthew, I'm and there's 5 O's, so depressed. The gardening season as we know it is over. Boo-hoo. But love your radio show. We'll continue to listen to you all winter long for those tips and tricks. Stay warm, James.
Oh, thank you, James.
Thank you very much, James.
We need a bit more positivity, James, that we're going to get another good week or two. But I don't know. It's just not looking good. So,
no,
I know.
It's supposed to rain where we are. And James, we didn't hear where you were from, but are you maybe near us in the GTA? But it's supposed to rain most of this week and get closer to 5 or 7 at one point. So the last time I looked earlier in the day, I haven't looked. It changes so quickly. But I think winter is I'm here to stay.
Yeah.
And it was the precipitation in the spring too, where you had a very wet, long, rainy spring. So it kind of seems only natural that it's so early. And exactly.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
So going back to the leaves.
Yep.
Yeah. So then there's the leaves that haven't fallen that are on the tree.
Right. Like my Japanese maples, right?
Right.
The beech tree.
And we saw that in the snowstorm. Remember the ice storm that caught us a little while ago?
Yes.
I think it was probably about 2 maybe 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah. And everything froze solid on it. It was
right.
probably 2 because I was here on the show.
Yep.
And they'll be okay. they'll be okay. The leaves they didn't get to pull in as much energy, and she was working on it. They're still under there. The leaves, the petioles are still over those bud areas, so they've kind of got a blanket from that snow. So the unformed or the forming buds are still there, but the plants didn't get to close off those phloem and xylem and knock the leaf off. So will it cause any damage to the plant? As long as there was color in the leaves, generally no. She should be okay. If you found that your leaves were brown before that happened and still on the tree, that means that part of that stem has died, usually. It's just brown and crusty. Yeah. And it couldn't fall off. There was just nothing to close anymore. And with that whole area, that node was dead. So they should still have some color, whether it's fall color or it's some of its natural color, like your Japanese maple, if she's going bright red for the fall type thing, or a red, she's going to be red when she freezes, right? And they tend to go like a little bit of a lighter red or almost a pink, depending on the variety, and then they'll be stuck there. But they'll blow off in the wind, and the wind will take them away, and that'll be fine.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I know, my Japanese maple, my variegated one is still kind of pink. It goes more, it's variegated green and white, my butterfly one. So when the fall color is a bit more pink, and it's in that picture. It's on the right-hand corner of the picture we posted as our graphic for the show. You can see a little bit of pink. So still quite a bit of leaves on it. So I think when it comes to protecting our Japanese maples, we still want to wait, don't we, is it still too early to do the burlap stakes? We want to wait a little bit till the leaves. Don't we want the leaves off?
Yeah, we can have a few of the leaves more drop off. If they end up, if we get that thaw and it's just a time to kind of do it, we're not going to put the burlap so it touches the leaves anymore. So if they do just kind of fall to the ground, it'll just act as more of a mulch to it. So if you can wait, good. If you can't and they just fall in, it'll still be okay. Yeah. Because we're not going to put that burlap on there, and that'll be that air circulation. Yeah. So, and then depending on where you are, I mean, if you're in northern Ontario or if you're in Winnipeg or anywhere like that, you guys might just not get a chance, period. Whereas here we're just east of Toronto, we might get a nice thaw out, and we can get some stakes into it again. But
yeah, I wonder. Well, I don't know if the zone when you get to Winnipeg or Northern Ontario, if they're planting as many Japanese maples.
No, and they probably aren't. Because I'm sorry, I just use that as
no, it's fine. It's fine. You can tell us if you are. Well, I saw them in Alaska. I didn't talk about the trip. Our trip to Alaska this summer. I was shocked by the Japanese maples, rhododendrons that were my height. So it is, what do they call it? Temperate rainforest in certain areas of Alaska. And the ports we were at, so three of the ports we were actually like little islands. So some of them, the one got only about 2 feet of, I'm gonna mix them up. I'm gonna mix the ports up, but 2 feet of snow a year, but it rains like 300 days of the year. Like they get 12 feet of rain and 2 feet of snow. So I was like taking pictures going, what is going on? Like, where are there Japanese maples here? And rhododendrons that were much bigger than we get in Ontario. So I was really surprised by the temperature and what they could grow there. Where I was, certainly we weren't super. My son kept saying to me, like, we're not going that far north, because we were on a cruise, so we were staying on the coast and coming back down. So Juneau was as far north, I think, as we went. But so anyway, so that was kind of cool. Yeah,
that's super cool. And as you say that, you wonder, because if you look at the hardiness zone maps, you can see the different zones, and then as they go up the west coast and along the southern shore of the southern coast of Alaska, they get super, super thin, but they're still colored there. So that's interesting that they're there. Interesting. Very, very cool.
Yeah. So,
wow. Okay. So I guess that example wasn't too far.
Yeah. No, for sure. So Mike has written in. He said he's on the bandwagon too. Mike says, I think that's it for us here in the GTA. I was hoping for an Indian summer yet, but it doesn't look like no more. I did not even get all my leaves up. Oh well, love the show. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I still have bulbs to plant.
Yeah, and see, and these are all these things that
Yep.
people we just got caught off guard, and
Yes.
it's still here.
Yep.
So bulbs,
Mm-hmm.
again, if you can get into the ground, and I just speak out of experience that I have planted bulbs the way you normally plant bulbs in the end of first, beginning of the second week of January, and they've all come up fine.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So as long as you can work that soil and get in there, then you can still do it. Because we got the snow, and like the rain in the summer, right? It really tends to snow when it's not super freezing cold. It's not minus 15 in the summer.
Right.
It's kind of that hovering just below zero, and it's that kind of temperate cool that we get all that snow.
I think it's worse because we just weren't ready for it.
We weren't. We were caught. We were blindsided.
Mm-hmm.
So the ground hasn't like frozen solid like a foot deep yet. Like we haven't had this massive crazy freeze. So the soil is under there and protected, and the snow is insulating. It's not going to keep it like a geothermal anything, but like it's still workable to a point, but the upper layer is starting to freeze. So if you can get through there, and that's what I ended up doing in January, you can still plant them just like you normally would, but it's going to be messy. And it's going to be a lot more muddy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And well, I think at least the squirrels, because I don't know if when I planted mine, they were digging them up right after I left. Like I had to go to the store to get more, and I came back and literally all the crocus that I planted, the squirrel had dug up. So I was like, really, I annoyed. So I think that is one advantage of it being colder and wetter and closer to freezing. Will help with the whole rodent thing. I wasn't, I'm good about planting daffodils and alliums instead of tulips because of the squirrels. So I don't know. I was naive in thinking that they didn't want like the crocuses, but no, literally neatly, like all the little holes. Oh yeah, right. Because I did it along my health strip, right along the curb.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Honestly, I'm sure he was in a tree watching me the whole time.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh, goodness gracious.
No. Well, Sam has written in, and Sam says, "Hi, Joanne and Matt, listening from Orlando, Florida. We are still growing here. So sorry. Love your show. Thank you, Sam. And yes, we're so jealous.
Yeah, we're so jealous. Although I hear it's not been super warm for you, though, either. But you're still growing, Sam. But thank you for listening.
Yes, from Orlando, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Just the thought of all that nice warmth down there, or warmer
would be good, right?
Jane has written in, hello, are there any flowers that will continue to bloom all winter long outside? Just curious. I really do not know of any. Thank you. So Jane, where are you here in the GTA? Are you in Canada? What part of North America are you in? Or are you in North America? But here in the GTA, no, not really. There are some really cold alpine bulbs that you can sometimes find that if they're planted in the right way and we don't get too heavy of a snow cover, or you plant them in an area that you don't get heavy snow cover, you can see them bloom as early as mid-February. And they will come up, and a lot of people will brush away snow to find them, or put up a snow fence to break the wind, so the drift kind of goes in a different space. But there is nothing that really is out like a true flower that is out that long.
Mm-hmm.
Witch hazel is another shrub, right?
I saw some pictures posted on social media, so it's blooming now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I think of hellebores. That's not what you just talked about, did you?
No. Just a type of bulb, and then the name totally escapes me.
Okay.
But those are to some very, very early, like late winter ones.
Yes. So with the witch hazel is a shrub, and it has a cool, almost reminds me of forsythia in the sense that it's yellow, but it's more of it's not quite the flower like petals. They're not like petals. Yeah, it's not like petals.
Like big broad petals.
Right.
I kind of imagine if you just kind of let your hand, you hold up your arm and let your hand dangle.
Dangle?
Yeah, they're kind of like just like your fingers.
Okay.
Like little strips
and
of...
Yes, and they're,
Yeah,
but they're very cool.
They're very cool, and they're quite profuse. When the whole shrub will bloom, and you'll get a nice big show. But it's not like broad and showy like the width of a hydrangea kind of thing.
Right.
They're very small,
Yes.
but they're plentiful and they give you a nice shade.
Yeah, so that's
For
a cool
sure.
thing if you're looking for something to. So it's tricky, Jane, to have one thing that blooms all summer, but it's an addiction, I call it, is that to get something that's blooming every month of the year, right? And so witch hazel would kind of be your late October, November thing that's blooming, and then hellebores probably picks up again February, March. And they're also sometimes called a Christmas rose. So they
Yes.
definitely are petally. The foliage is very evergreen almost,
Yep.
right? It's definitely tough. And often they are blooming in the snow. So it's kind of cool
Yeah.
that you would see them.
Yeah. People
Mhm.
have come in and complained that they missed them because they were
Mhm.
snow so late.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh.
that's just really going into also just when you do some winter, when you're like landscape designing, you know, don't forget any of your winter interests, the twigs and the berries and the interesting textures. That's really, at least here in the GTA, one of the main things we rely on is getting through that color and that interest through the winter months.
Right.
But
Right.
just because there is no flowers.
That's right.
Evergreens, I should say evergreens.
And Shelley writes in, so welcome. She's saying, hi from Las Vegas, Nevada. Warm here, growing still. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Shelley. That's cool. I mean, we just envy you and love to hear stories about what you're growing and if you have seasons. Like, you know, are there
Yeah.
things that you're growing now in quote unquote fall? Even though it's fall, but it's warmer. You know, it's warmer for you than it is for us. You know, love learning what other gardeners in other areas do.
Oh, we do.
Don't
we
you?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like people, I know people in BC.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, you know what, we put things to bed at like, you know, October, November, and come around January, beginning of it, we're like out in the garden again.
That's right.
And it's like, what?
I know.
No
eh?
way. So
Mhm.
it's mind blowing. So we love hearing, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stories and things. And we'll definitely, if you still stuck on things or have questions, you know, in warmer climates, I'll volunteer. Matt loves research, so I'll still help you out.
I just
right?
gonna say,
you know, we'll answer whatever questions you need
that's it.
for sure.
That's it. Most certainly. So what else? What other questions? We were talking about leaves and
Mhm.
lawn. I had a call today about the dormant spray kit.
Ah,
So applying any of the pesticides for overwintering.
Isn't it
insects
early
and
for that?
things. So there's the main time you're going to do it is in the spring.
okay.
Because we tend to get the longer, warmer weather. There is a very short blip of a window in the fall, as long as the leaves have completely fallen, which this year they have not in our
Right.
area. But if they fall and you give it 2 weeks and let those leaf scars seal over, you can do it. But we do want to wait until the spring, and we want to wait till it's above 5 degrees
Mm-hmm.
for, you know, about that 4 to 6 hours, and it's not going to be raining or washing it off. So we've kind of,
Yes.
the time is coming.
Yeah.
If you've missed it, or you know you had a disease on your tree and you are worried about it, just make sure, and maybe you're not in the GTA, just make sure you get as many of those leaves as possible, so they don't go between seasons, whatever your season looks like, that they can come back out and reinfect.
Okay.
So that would be the key there.
What type of I think of dormant spray, I think of fruit trees, but are there
Yes.
other trees where what other insects or scale, like which is an insect, or powdery mildew? Not really, right? What other things are we treating with dormant spray?
Yeah. So a lot of the things, they're usually fungal diseases or
Mhm.
foliar diseases of fruit trees. But you're correct. Spider mites, scale insects, other mites, different insects like that, any soft-bodied insects,
Okay.
mealybugs, for example. The other diseases, powdery and mildew, for sure. Yep,
Oh, okay.
the lime sulfur in it will kill and suppress the spores. Different, and I mean, we could rhyme on like
Okay.
90 different
Yes, thanks. No, you could. but
fungal
yeah.
things, right? that we see on the fruit trees, the scabs and the
Okay.
blights and things like that. But I also remember though too, when it's on the leaf, especially, it won't remove the damage, but it'll stop and suppress
Right.
the damage. But it won't. The leaf is scarred for good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the things that some people come back upset at it. I've been spraying it all, and I've done even the summer application rate, which a lot of
Mhm.
people don't understand there is too. So you can do it after 20 days after the final petal drop, from the flowers on fruit trees, for example.
Okay.
Or a flowering tree.
Yes, we do it in the early February, March when it's cold out, but just above 5 degrees without rain.
Right. And you can do it every 2 weeks thereafter, as long as it's above 5 degrees.
Okay.
But before the buds start to show color, whether in flower or leaf.
Okay.
And then after 20 days after the last flower petal drop, and it's usually a fruit tree indicator, you can do it again, and there's a lower summer application, and you can keep going for the different insects.
I don't think I knew that.
Right. And a lot of people just go, well, I did it once, but then my tree still got a disease. Right. Because they're still active.
Right.
Yeah. And you knew that you had them, but they don't realize that they can keep going through the thing. So.
Okay. And it is more of an environmentally friendly thing to treat, way to treat the trees, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's dormant. It's an oil.
It's an oil. I think most of it is a mineral oil base,
right?
That you spray out, and then the other one is just lime and lime sulfur mix.
Okay,
which are elements that we've mined and processed and turned into that liquid form, so we can use them on it too. But yeah, there's no deadly, crazy pesticides like all the old big ones, or if you're in the States, the common classic ones that we miss in Canada that a lot of people still want, right? That you
do we miss them?
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm happy. It's nice to see bugs on your windshield again.
Yes.
But they don't wipe out everything just to kill the one thing in the tree. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So that's something. So for U.S. listeners, you might not be familiar of the dormant kit. That's something to look for if you're looking for more of an environmentally friendly way to treat some of the insects and diseases in your fruit trees and some of your other ornamental trees, right?
That's right. A lot of people as well in the garden center, even with the dormant kits, they're turning to a lot of biologicals. And so we've mentioned natural insect control on the show and have had them on, and they have lots of predatory mites and where they release ladybugs and praying mantises. And a lot of people are moving into more of those environmental, cultural, organic kind of control.
Kind of encouraging like the whole circle of life thing, really.
Right, because there really is. It's all just we've broken the balance.
Okay. That's for sure. So it's just been a weird season that has definitely caught us off guard. And we don't know what's going to happen next week. I know it sounds like for other listeners are chiming in that they think we're done. I know I've got some landscaping jobs that the guys still want to get in. Some contractors are still working through. They've been working through. I know some of them have managed to keep going. But it's certainly harder. I mean, it's cold, it's wet, it's shorter daylight, so it is a tough slog out there for the guys. But they're really trying hard. And, when you make promises to clients and stuff, it's hard to let them down. But, the weather, we're not in control. Right. So it's challenging. So we have another listener who's written in.
Yeah, Winnie writes in, "Hi, Joanne and Matthew, longtime listeners here in Boston, Massachusetts." I hope I said that right. For what it is worth, our growing season is basically done. We are having to quit quite a bit of snow, already in the season. Can't wait until spring. Winnie.
Oh, thanks, Winnie. Yeah, I think you've got about the same as us. Our climates are very much similar.
But it sounds like it's been snowing there more often than it has here, which I hope hasn't been the case, Winnie.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're looking forward to spring. Ooh, this is a good question. Oh, and I love the tag DTGP. That's good.
John writes in, "Hello, DTGP, down the garden path. Are there any edible plants that can grow all winter long? And thank you for your answer." John, my mind immediately, unless you're really out into like the woodsy foraging kind of out in nature type winter foraging type thing, which I have to say that's probably my weakness. I don't know what you could go forage for.
Oh, okay.
Through the winter, but you can go into things like your cold frames.
Right. And hoop houses.
And things like that. And you can grow a lot of cool season crops, usually lettuces and radishes and other vegetables that you could be harvesting all year round.
But I think you definitely, again, we don't know where you are, John, but you definitely have to set up cold frames, which is doable. And we keep talking about doing a show on those. But I don't know how that carries on the radio though. But yes, and I know I was telling you before the show. Remember Nikki Jabour, who's been on our show. I was listening to another garden podcast that she was on. And the ladies were asking her what she's still been harvesting out of her cold frames and her little hoop houses. And so she's still harvesting quite a bit. Was harvesting cucumbers up until the beginning of November, and still has, some spinach and kale and different things happening. So it's definitely doable, but I think it definitely needs a plan. Like I was listening to the podcast going, wow, I really have to get my act together. I know inside, my son actually got one of those little grow light kits. He wanted those for Christmas, for his birthday in June. So we do have some spinach and some basil and some mint growing inside, with those, Best Buy sells them. And and apparently you can even grow, he actually, I think one of the pods is a pepper plant. I don't know. I don't think it's going to grow a pepper though, because I think that we need pollen for that, right? So I don't know.
You need to pollinate it.
Yeah, for sure. So I haven't. It's really been his thing. I keep thinking the basement light. Like I go to shut off the basement lights and they're off. The switch, and I'm like, but why is there still light on downstairs? Well, it's that. So it knows how much time. It kind of regulates its on its own cycle. So I have kind of not gotten involved in that, but it is kind of intriguing. And I every time I'm down there, I'm like, oh, I really should see what I could grow down here. So it's kind of exciting. So that might be something that our listeners can ask for Christmas.
Yes,
right.
Lots of low, inexpensive. It's not a drain on the electricity.
Right.
It's very cheap to run. Lots of grow lights, LED, inflorescence, things like that are full spectrum. So, and it's really great to extend the season, even if they're not you're not growing vegetables. Just supplementing your everyday light to a full spectrum bulb for not only your plants but for the people in the house as well, because it releases all the spectrum of the light. So it kind of better mimics sunlight, and we get that seasonal affective disorder where it's just the low lights and the vitamin D, right? So these lights kind of help our brains register it too. So there's lots of stuff you can do, John. Most certainly. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some herbs, and I know we did a past show. I don't know if you caught it, John, on lemon trees. I was thinking about that today.
I was thinking of that too.
Yeah, somebody else, and I thought I've got to go. I didn't buy one then, but do they still have them? Does the store still have them?
We are out, but we are supposed to be getting more in for later.
You're gonna have to let me know.
Yes,
because I think I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Yes. So we talked about back to outside. We talked to, maybe, dealing with the leaves. So if you missed us, we are talking about, the winter outside, the weather outside. If you have any concerns or questions about what's happening in your garden with this unexpected early winter, please email us here at instudio101@gmail.com. We talked about wrapping Japanese maples.
Right.
What if people didn't get to their cedars or their evergreen? I mean, and Gary always reminds me how I'm not great about promoting burlap on evergreens, but sometimes you need them.
That's right.
But sometimes you need them, and if they're newly planted this year, especially. Same with Japanese maples. You only really need to do that for the first couple of years of the Japanese maple until it's established. So I think as long as we can still get the stakes in the ground. Right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to stake and do a stake around the evergreen, sometimes people just wrap the evergreen directly. Is that okay?
You can, but it can become a risky game when you wrap it, right? Wrapping them to the foliage, you're going to bend and stress some of the branches. But if we get a weird warm spell and they're stuck under that burlap for a week in March, that can sweat them and
or a week in December,
December, right?
We still could get a warm week in December.
This whole week, first week of December, could be 15 degrees. And you've wrapped
definitely.
It. So that's why it's good to protect it, but keep them off the foliage, just because it allows that air circulation. And burlap has all those holes. But the more you put against them, the more closed off they are.
Yeah. So if you do have a new hedge that you're wanting to protect, then maybe it is more of creating a screen, put the stakes in all along and kind of staple the burlap, and then the direction the wind is blowing, you want to protect it that way instead of wrapping into each individual tree. The other thing I like to suggest instead of burlapping, some people want to do it because they're, when we do get those heavy snows or ice storms and the wet snow sits on the trees and pulls them, pulls them open. We all know that they never close really right back again, right? So some fishing line or some twine is another option where you can, kind of go inside or loosely on the outside, kind of hold the evergreen together, but which helps with that. But yet you get to still see the green. So I kind of like that as a better choice personally.
For sure, and especially if those evergreens are near the eaves, like the side of the house where there might be snow that comes off the roof, or if we get a lot of rain and ice forms, and you got it and falls on it. For sure.
Okay.
Another thing would be is if the ground is still unfrozen and it is new, as bizarre as this sounds with the snow that we have.
Okay.
Still get some water on them if possible.
Yeah.
Right? Because they are evergreen and they are still drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I say it to the people in the garden center. Once those leaves fall, we want to water it to the bottom of that hole once a week until the ground freezes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a number of years ago, 8 degrees Christmas Day, the ground hadn't frozen. Merry Christmas, go get your hose because they actually still need a drink.
Yes.
And we've removed, again, that natural layer that would have held all the water throughout the fall. Another product, and I don't know where you stand on this one, but I quite like it, and I've had it work great success for me. I call it liquid organic burlap, but it's the wilt proof.
Oh, yes. I haven't used it a ton. I've used it on my evergreen urn. I've tried it there. I was recommending it to someone on one of the Facebook groups too. So you've had good success, and what have you used it on?
Yeah, and so wilt proof, you see it often with the Christmas green urns,
right.
All those cut boughs have no roots. They spray it, and it stays green till March.
Okay.
So we can spray it on all of our evergreens as well. So if you have that cedar hedge or
so
it's something,
so it's a protectant and kind of like anti-desiccant. Is that what they call it?
Right.
Okay.
I guess that's, so. Let me start with how it works. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically it's an organic oil-based product. And it seals the leaves and it helps block the stomatas and prevents the water from coming out of the leaf.
Okay.
So it kind of acts as a shield. It lasts for about 3 to 5 months.
Okay.
And I like to say spray it once and then wait a week and spray it again.
Okay.
Because they found that sometimes those layers of oil can act independently, so you can break one down before you really get to the underneath layer, and it really chips away.
Now, is it too late because it's so cold out?
It's not. I would still probably do it closer to. I mean, probably just go out and do it. It is an oil. It's not water based, so it's not going to freeze instantly.
Okay.
But if you can do it closer to below or around 0. That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so anything like boxwoods,
your cedars, your junipers, you could do your yews.
Could you do
could
the
do
yews?
your Japanese maples.
Now, would that help protect salt damage on some of our evergreens like boxwood?
I've heard mixed reviews, yes.
Okay.
Some of it will, depending on how thick that really is.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And how heavy that salt is. I've had people say, I had a great reduction or no salt damage. And some people have just said, it just kind of.
Well, I think it's got to be moderation with the salt, right?
For sure.
You can't go crazy and expect them to make it through,
no.
regardless of what you can do. But if you're finding you get a little bit of burn every year, maybe trying the wilt proof. That's the name of the product, not a commercial.
Nope.
But it's an option.
Yeah. Exactly. The other thing with wilt proof, because it is about like anywhere from about $16 to $20, depending on where you get it. At least Canadian it is.
Okay.
One thing a lot of people don't realize is that they use like half the bottle, and they go, well, what else do I use it for?
Right.
I'm only going to use this much. You can actually use it on transplanting, like say for example a hosta.
Okay.
You buy a hosta in the middle of summer and you're about to go away. Wilt proof it. And then plant it, water it, and it'll actually slow the release of the water. So you
wilt-proof the leaves?
You can wilt-proof the live foliage.
Really?
Right. So you can use it all year round. It does, like other chemicals, if it's like 27 degrees on a hot, sunny day, don't go out and spray it. It is an oil base. You're literally like...
Yeah.
It's like fried chicken, right? You're just not like you're frying something. It's like you're deep frying French fries.
But it also doesn't go bad, right? So you can use it again next year.
All right. Just make sure it gives a good shake. Some of the oil and the water that is in it will separate a bit and just kind of give it. But Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. And the other use, we do definitely want to get to the Christmas urns or the winter outdoor urns.
Yeah.
And that's another way you can use it. So if you can get, so if your containers are frozen that you were hoping to fill with so I've been out there. I don't know that they're all frozen, but if they are, I've done it with hot water. Like I've had to, defrost my container, or you just take out your containers and then you've got to use, start fresh. So buying a bag of soil, filling those, and I find those are harder because they're so loose, right? Like the ones that had annuals in them and then I can just trim, things kind of stick in it a little bit better. So I always kind of prefer to use those. But the nurseries are selling the greens, right? It's not too early.
Nope.
But that is another way if you are putting your cut greens, giving everything a fresh cut and putting it in the soil, you do want to water that, even though it's dry or it's wet or it's, we still want to have as much moisture in there as possible, right? But then you could wilt-proof the greens just to give them a little bit extra protection.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, exactly. Those fresh cuts are going to realize there's new water there, and they haven't drank for months, probably.
Right.
A number of weeks at least. So they'll draw it up. So keep it moist, and then you want it just kind of freeze in place. Watch those two where the eaves and the water and the snow can get really covered on them.
Yep.
That can open them up a bit too. But
now I'm wondering if wilt-proof. So I'm a big fan of either making them yourself, the
100%.
greens, making them yourself. I just think the product you're getting is going to be fresher. Even though it was harvested a long time ago, it's still going to be fresher than what some of those pre-made ones from the big box stores. And those are the ones that I feel like kind of give the industry a bad rap because they're going to be brown by mid-January, right? And because it never has enough. They're always very small containers, and there's never enough stuff in them. Yeah. I've seen them where they're using Oasis or they're just using the dry foam. So it's nothing. There's nothing there. So really, you get what you pay for. Everybody, look at the container. If it's soil, if it's Oasis, it's okay. I know there's some people that still make them. Does the nursery still making them with Oasis or no?
No, it's pretty much all soil. When you get fancy and you've got experience making themselves, you can add Oasis on top of the soil to give yourself some height and dimension and do some different stuff. But yeah, it's pretty much all soil now. And that's all you need. Yeah,
yes.
That's all you need. It'll hold it more than enough. And think, you're adding all those branches into a finite volume of soil. They displace the soil and pinch each other into place too, right? So
and it is quite an art with Oasis because if you make holes and then you want to rearrange them and take the sticks out and put them back in again, you're really losing the integrity of the support. So you're better off, dealing with soil to begin with. So that's what we recommend. But if somebody gifts you one from another box store or something like that, then maybe try buying the wilt-proof to see if you can kind of save it and prolong it. If it's not in something moist, if it's in a dry foam, it's not going to make it through. It's not going to make it through the new year.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And that's why I like to view them more as winter urns as opposed to Christmas because we start them in November and I don't know about you, I want them to last till March.
Yeah, and it's doable. I've taken them out of my Nana's window boxes at the beginning of May to put pansies in, and it was like they were just the tips were starting to brown, and it was like, what? I feel bad taking it all out, but it's time.
Yeah, so definitely. I have to admit, though, I haven't even wanted to get outside to do them yet, but I have to think about that. I had popped in some purple fountain grass in my 2 urns just to get me from summer until the winter ones, and the grass was all sad and blah. But I'm hoping that I can just cut that off and then use those pots to kind of stick my evergreens in. So, yeah. That's what I'm doing. So if you have any questions about that, we love to answer you. If you've got questions about creating a winter urn, if you've got questions for us, you can always email us, or I'm at Joanne at downtoearth.ca, number 2. And Matthew
is at Matthew, you can reach me, Matthew at naturalaffinitydesigns.ca. abrupt.ca. The way I was saying it was like the at symbol in front of it. No.
Yeah, no.
Matthew at Natural Affinity.
And have we mentioned on the show before, we started a Facebook group for the podcast. So on Facebook, you can search Down the Garden Path Podcast. And I know I just posted a picture of my to-do list. It's my to-do picture of the things I still need to do in my garden. So go have a look and see what I still need to plant and need to do in my garden. But also, send us any pictures of any concerns you have, or if you've done a winter urn already, we'd love to see it. Or if you've got any questions, we'd love to hear from you, as always, right?
That's right. That is right. And, you can always reach us here at instudio101@gmail.com. We do get the mail from Gary, and thank you very much, Gary, for doing that. We have Larry writing in. Larry says, love the show, love the advice, love the personalities. Thank you, Larry. What is there not to love about DTGP, Down the Garden Path? Do you know when your Christmas shows will be aired as of yet? I don't want to miss them. Love the Christmas tree advice. Larry from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, thank you very much, Larry.
So we do have...
Yeah. Is it December 9th? I think.
Is it the 9th? Are we going to be here till the 9th?
Yep.
Okay. We do have a couple more shows.
Yeah.
We do have a past podcast. If you really need to know now.
Yes.
I did a show with Gary last year or the year before.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. About live versus everlasting.
That's
the
right.
fig trees.
Yes.
So you can always turn into that. We are still kind of putting together some thoughts and ideas for what to do on Christmas.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for the feedback. So that's good. We'll definitely talk about Christmas trees.
Yes, and it's funny, Larry, I almost printed those notes just in case
there
someone
you go.
asked.
There you go.
But yes, and definitely take a look on the Facebook group too. We're going to post Christmas stuff and fun things there. And
maybe we'll post a link to that past show.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So that's a good idea. So watch for that, Larry, and thank you for the feedback. It really helps because we want to know, we always know what we want to talk about or we're not sure. We try to read from other people asking us questions in our day-to-day lives, but it does help to get questions and want to know what our listeners want to know about, right? Yes. Especially those in warmer climates. We're happy to, to help you there as well.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, we've got the last 5 minutes of the show.
That's right.
Is there anything else we want to
I don't know.
touch on
Let's see. Dormant. Okay, winter planters.
Trees, shrubs, and perennials. A few people.
Okay, well, let's just go the other way. So we've been pessimistic so far that we are going to get a nice spell. So what if we do get a nice spell? Can we plant my picture, I'll give you a hint, is to plants that I need to still plant. Is that okay?
Yeah. As long as if they're in the ground, that's all the better. They won't really root in. Put some leaves or something around them and mulch, but planted is always best.
Okay.
Even
in the pot, right? Well, that's another option. If you don't have the spot ready, if you weren't able to do that reorganize in the garden, but if you can just dig a hole and put the pot in the hole for the winter, that'll buy you some time.
You got it. You can always dig it up and move it later. That's no problem. She won't establish, won't hurt her at all.
Don't put it in the garage. Don't bring it in this house. I had one of my clients, they got gifted some beautiful hollies and they weren't sure where to put them. And then I found out that they thought, we'll wait till the spring and we'll bring them inside. And I'm like, no. They got to go outside. They have to go dormant, just like all our other, they do need to go to sleep. They need that.
They like that cold.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, even just go buy bags of unfrozen triple mix if you can find it somewhere. Put them against the house and protect them from the wind and water them and pile soil around them. Okay. In the edge of a garden bed that's along the side of the house that's not used. They're out, they're getting light, they're getting the cold they need, and even just that little bit of ground that can help protect them from that freeze thaw.
Okay. Wow.
So hopefully... the weather outside has caught us off guard, but there is still some hope and doing things, whether you've got snow or not. We can still protect things with burlap and wilt-proof and get things planted. I think we're being poked off the air as Elaine just brought in the coffee for Dave and Lou.
Yeah, I know. Is the clock wrong, Gary? The guys are like...
No, it's there.
It's good. Okay. Were they going to join us, Dave? Do you have any gardening questions? Any dilemmas? No?
No, I don't think they have any. They have electrical questions.
Do
No,
they have electrical
no.
questions?
Or
No,
motorcycle
Dave's got a
questions.
garden. He might have questions. So yes, so no. If again after the show, if something happens or if the weather takes another weird turn, you know where to find us. So please continue to reach out to us. Again, my website's down2earth.ca. Did you have a question, Dave?
No, I put grass down 2 days before Halloween. Finally,
Did you? You got grass down? How's it going? Is it growing?
I don't know.
Because it's under snow right now. But at least you didn't have to water it.
No,
right?
I didn't.
That's
I haven't had to
perfect.
really water to it at all.
That's right, and you must have got like the one of the last sod cuts, right? Because I
have no
think
idea.
I
It
think
just
they are.
fell off of a truck.
Oh, did it fall off of a truck? Okay.
So that's actually good. Like people that reseeded, like heavily overseeding
sodded,
or
yep.
sodded,
Mm-hmm.
and now when the snow comes down, obviously that is really good for it because you don't have to then physically water, right?
As long as it didn't go under there dry. It does still need some water.
Yeah.
The snow would have had to have melted or have some really good deep rains to do it. The seeds will just stay dormant, and then the sod it's a perennial again. It should stay cold and go to sleep. But again, as long as it's got some moisture there. If it is under the sleep, dry, might take some damage.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So if people, if it does go dormant, of course, new seed now, it really doesn't matter because that seed will it won't totally die off before, like when spring comes, it will be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yep. You could go put it out on the snow and just let it melt into place and whatever made it to the
I
ground in the
heard
spring.
someone did that before. Is
Yeah.
that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they said, I just went out and seeded my yard. I go, what are you talking about,
Yeah.
right? He goes, there's like 6 inches of snow. He goes, doesn't matter. When it melts, it's going to go down.
Yeah,
right?
No
definitely.
effect to it. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, no
Definitely. So, but it did stop us from people who intended to do the corn gluten like I did, and
Right.
and some of the other extra steps this fall. It just the weather turned. Like Dave said, the day before Halloween, it was like, what happened? So Mother Nature, we have to just go with it.
That's it. She rules us all.
That's right. That's right. So
Good,
once
that's
again,
good. She rules us all. Excellent lyric
That's right.
for a song.
There you go.
It's yours.
Thank you.
You can always email us here at Reality Radio 101. The email is instudio101@gmail.com. You can find me at my website, down2earth.ca with the number 2. And all my social media links are there, including our Facebook group. I'm at.
You can find me at naturalaffinitydesigns.ca with all of our links to the websites. I'd still have to add the Facebook group, but I will.
Okay.
Yes, and thank you to everybody who tuned in this evening and wrote us questions. James, Mike, Sam, Jane, Shelley, Winnie, John, and Larry.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Larry?
and we want to remind everybody about the podcast.
Yes.
So if you missed and weren't able to catch the whole show, then look for Down the Garden Down the Garden Path podcast on your favorite podcast app, and to get all past episodes, including our Christmas ones. So definitely, we want to thank everybody once again for joining us here, Down the Garden Path on Reality Radio 101.
Yes. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your hosts, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101.